We all have a greater yes in our lives, something that God is calling us to embrace that's right in front of us. Now that thing may be years out or it may be inches away, but God has put something in your heart and in your mind that He wants you to say yes to. That thing is your greater yes. If we're ever going to be the church and not just simply attend church, we're going to have to be the kinds of people that understand our lives outside of Sunday matter for eternity just as much as Sunday. Every day is a gift that we have to move forward in life by saying yes to that thing that God is putting in our hearts to do. The yes may take on different forms or take different turns along the journey because very few things in life end up looking exactly the way that we plan them. If we're honest, actually nothing really does. I like to draw, and occasionally in my head I'll see what the final product is going to look like. But then when my pencil actually hits the paper, it never turns out quite the way that I originally saw it, but that's okay. The same is true with your greater yes, and that's okay to take a turn here and there. I always thought that I would be like a kind of traveling preacher and that people would want me to teach at different conferences or youth events or churches all over the world. That was how I saw myself as a kid when I began to say yes to God. But then I began to say yes to pursuing different ministry opportunities that He put in front of me, and there's been a lot of twists and turns and changes and tweaks along the way, and I've ended up being a senior pastor, and our weekly broadcast literally goes all over the world. I just get to stay in one spot instead of physically going everywhere. You see, God has brought me to a place where I see things I didn't see before, because the closer that you get to being where God wants you to be, the clearer things actually become. And God helps us to make tweaks in our vision. He shows us the greater yes all along the way. You have to start somewhere if you're going to get to the greater yes for your life, because there's something in front of you that God wants you to say yes to. Now, you may be ignoring it, you may be making excuses for why you're saying no right now, but you need to position yourself to be able to say yes by saying yes to the right things. And this means saying no to the wrong things, the distractions, the time stealers, the schedule fillers, the things that seem to need your attention right now. You know what I'm talking about, those things that just are screaming at you. They're actually keeping you from saying yes. We often sacrifice great things in our lives for something that we just feel is kind of good enough. We accept the fact that we are just this or just that, and we explain all of our limitations, which are really just all of our excuses and the reason why we're saying no to the thing God's put on our heart to do. Things like, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too poor, I'm too uneducated, or I'm too new at this, I have too checkered of a past, I'm too wounded, I'm too tired. That list just goes on and on and on. The enemy loves to hear these excuses because he knows that people live lives full of excuses, are not going to step into the greater thing that God is calling them to do. So will it be a stretch? Yeah, it will. You won't have all the resources needed to do that thing that God is putting on your heart to do. You won't maybe have all the right words to say, but you still need to say yes to taking a step forward. Maybe it's time for you to start introducing yourself to your neighbors and eventually inviting them over for dinner, or maybe inviting that coworker to church. Maybe it starts there, and then the picture becomes clearer of what God's calling you to say yes to. Maybe it starts with serving at your local church, or just looking to be a person who says that they're willing to fill whatever is needed. You know, kind of a person that would say, I'm here to look at the need and fill the need. Just start somewhere and quit making excuses. We as followers of Christ, being the church, have to be the people that are saying yes to the greater things that God is calling us to, because He's calling His church out of mediocrity. He's calling His church out of just being good enough. And He wants our value system to grow and more in line with His value system. And He wants us to be more effective in this world while we still are drawing breath. So what is your greater yes? What is He calling you to do?